So Zach, obviously you're most famous currently for your Steven Universe role, but what had, in fact, out of all your roles, has in fact been your favorite so far?
That's so hard because Steven Universe has been such a big part of my life. I'd have to say, even if it's cheating, that's my answer. As far as film roles have gone, I did a short film called Flight of Passage last year in the fall. We shot it in upstate New York. It's about a true story, actually, that a book was written off of, and I played the author of the book at 15 years old, about these two kids piloting a plane across the United States in the 1960s. And just something about that shoot and the people we worked with, it was a really small, tightly run crew, and just something about that role and the premiere we had just a few weeks ago was pretty incredible, so that's up there for me as well. But I've been very blessed to work on a lot of great sets in my time.
Thank you.
How was the audition process for Steven Universe?
Yeah, the audition, I was sent an email packet with early drawings of Steven for the pilot, 10 lines of dialogue, and what is now known as the extended theme. And I sang that, did the lines, worked on the voices with my vocal coach, Tony G, shout out. And yeah, I got a couple of callbacks, ended up at Cartoon Network in the studio a couple times, and I got the call and we recorded the pilot, and I didn't really think that much of it because I had been doing some one-off voiceovers here and there, like guest stars and little pilots here and there, and nothing had really gone super far. And then all of a sudden, in October, we were doing pickup lines for the pilot for Steven Universe, and as I was signing the contracts, they were like, "Oh yeah, by the way, the show got picked up. Congrats!" I was like, "Hold on a second, what?" So that's how I found out Steven Universe was going to be a thing. How big of a thing, I did not know until much later, but that was the initial audition process.
So, are you yourself a fan of animation, or comic books, since you have played those voice actor roles?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was a huge Cartoon Network fan, specifically, actually, when I was young. We didn't even get it at home. I would go over to my grandparents' house, and I would always watch Cartoon Network, and they would record it on a VHS tape so I could take it home. I loved, like, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, Codename Kids Next Door. Yeah, I see everybody's like, yeah! Yeah, those were my favorite shows back then, and I've since watched a lot of anime because our show is very anime-inspired, and there are a few of those that I've taken a liking to.
Of the anime you've been watching, what's on your watch list right now? What's really...
What I need to watch or what I have watched?
Both.
Alright, the ones I have watched, I've watched a little bit of Full Metal Alchemist, love that, that's a classic. I know it's kind of cliche, Sword Art Online is one of my favorites. This one called Angel Beats was really cool. And one Angel Beats fan in the house. Let's see, things that I need to watch, Attack on Titan, I still have not seen that. And then some classic ones like Death Note, Cowboy Bebop, just things that I should have seen by now but haven't.
Do you like acting or voice acting more?
They use two quite different skill sets, but there is some overlap, which makes it hard to choose. I like that I can do both. The schedule has accommodated thus far where I can record one day of the week, film other days of the week, and now that I'm doing a regular on-camera gig, it keeps me very busy, but I like it that way because it challenges both sides of the spectrum, so I really like having both in my arsenal.
Okay.
So, considering the fact that you played Billy Batson, I probably mispronounced that, but you play Shazam. And because that character is a boy, in essence, pretending to be a man, do you in fact find yourself having to almost add some lines in there to kind of play up your natural boyish charm?
I mean, it's kind of the same thing for Steven Universe. You have to capture that the child part of the child character, which is something I really want to do with Steven Universe. But for Billy Batson, he's more of a heroic, he has a lot more life experience because he's seen all these things as Captain Marvel / Shazam, and it was a really interesting role to play. I'd never been able to do a superhero type thing before, and I've been able to come back and do him a couple times, and I think it's a really fun role because it's the less talked about side of superheroes. It's the alter ego, and alter ego all the time. That's just my part. So playing that, the dynamics of that is really fun.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you read comics books. Of any of the comic books you've read, are there any specifically that you'd like to base some of the characters on?
Yeah, there was one I read a long time ago. I'm not a huge comic book person. I like the movies and everything, but I've read a few here and there. There was a graphic novel I read a long time ago called Baltimore the Plague Ships. It's by this really famous comic author who I'm totally going to be crucified for not knowing his name. But it was really good, and it struck me even then not as a huge comic fan, so definitely something in that, because it's very dark and creepy, interesting setting right after World War I, which I'm a history buff, so it's perfect.
So, combining your love of comic books and your love of history, what in fact is your favorite comic book of all time?
I have favorite characters. Like I'm a huge Iron Man fan, but I've only read a couple of the actual comics. I have friends who are really into the comics who gave me kind of a TLDR, and then now I know all the backstory for the movies and what's to come. And I just think that Tony Stark is a really interesting character with a lot of depth to him, and I like that side of things.
Nice.
Now that you've broken out with your character of Steven in Steven Universe, is there any sort of series or character that you yourself would really like to be a part of?
Oh, absolutely. As far as television goes, you talking animation?
Sure.
Okay. I'd love to do some other work on other Cartoon Network shows because I've had the pleasure of being able to hang out with a lot of the cast of regular show, Adventure Time, Uncle Grandpa. We did the Uncle Grandpa crossover a while back, which was great fun. We had Kevin Michael Richardson, Eric Bauza, and Pete Brownguard in the booth with us, and it was a full house and a ton of fun. But more of that would be awesome. I'd love to be on like Pokemon one day because I grew up with that, but we'll see.
Follow up, who's your favorite Pokemon?
It's really weird. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Mantine.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that.
It's the most mad Pokemon ever, but for some reason I've always liked them.
Asking on behalf of Creative Loafing, what's it like being back in Atlanta with all these huge fans?
It's awesome. I haven't been to Atlanta in a very long time. We used to go down to Thomasville years ago with my family, but to visit. But Atlanta is this is my first time I'm actually getting to see the city, so it's been really cool thus far. I got a tour of the Cartoon Network offices here this morning. That was really cool. And I plan on seeing more of the city this weekend. I don't know what to see quite yet. I've heard the aquarium is good, but let's see.
After the aquarium tonight, 5 until like 8, I think. Like a bunch of the Momocon people, you probably want a more private tour because there's a lot going on there. But that is good. And there's Jazz Festival. Atlanta's really fun stuff.
That's tonight?
Tomorrow.
I like jazz.
Yeah. I did have an actual question besides just telling you about the tour guidiness about that. One, have you been able to, what percent of people do you think recognize you as you're kind of walking through? I know you have Hamler and people around you, but have you walked past some Steven Universe fans and gotten no reaction? And what was maybe the best reaction you've gotten from a cosplayer or Steven Universe fan since you've been, I guess, at Momocon specifically?
Yeah, the thing with cons is I notice it goes up tremendously after I do my panel, and this one started. Panel was the first thing I did, so I mean, walking to the panel, I saw a few Steven cosplays, and they didn't bat an eye because they don't know what I look like.
Yeah.
But after the panel, yeah, I get noticed a lot, which I don't mind. Everybody's really excited and is glad to be here and glad to see me, and I'm glad to be here. So it's all cool.
So. Okay. So Steven Universe as a show addresses so many different themes and hits on so many different elements. Steven being the key concept among all that. Did you find yourself becoming more and more enamored with Steven, or taking on certain elements of that character as you played it, or was it really more you had your list from the get-go and things have not really changed as the series has evolved?
Things have definitely changed. When I started off, my voice hadn't changed. I was 14, my voice was still very high, and I actually lost a couple gigs because my voice went down. But thankfully, at that time, I was pitching my voice down for Steven, and then I started pitching it up. And Cartoon Network has always been very good about actually aging their characters as the show goes on, and that's been a huge arc for Steven as the show has gone on. I feel like it's the main arc for my character. Is Steven's growing up, he's maturing, he's getting control over his powers, and it's basically Steven's coming of age story to me, and that's how I play it.
Thank you.
Can you talk about some of your favorite lines or instances when you're reading the script and then having to voice that?
Like favorite lines?
Yeah.
There have been a few. One of them I had to put on a really bad Italian accent, which I like Italian everything, even though I'm not Italian at all, so I really had a good time with that. Some of the songs have been really fun, singing with Dee Dee in the studio. She's Broadway trained, so she totally outshines me, but it's fun to kind of witness that. There have been some funny moments recording. We've had some great moments at San Diego Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con. It's been a really great ride these past 4 years, and I had this awesome Steven Universe family around me that has grown really tight.
Just really side interest while everybody else is thinking about their question. What do you think about Tumblr?
What do I think about Tumblr?
Yeah, have you ever experienced the Steven Universe side of Tumblr? I'm gonna guess.
I have. I don't have a Tumblr myself. My friends text me intermittently and yell at me, get off my feed, Zach, you're everywhere. Because I know that's where the concentration of our fans are. I spend most of my time on Reddit because I'm terribly addicted to it. I actually did an AMA on the Steven Universe subreddit a little while back, and they were very welcoming to me, cool people, and I love the fan community. Everybody's awesome and been very supportive of the show, so I'm very appreciative.
I know this might be a loaded question, but because Steven Universe has so many diverse characters, who in fact is your favorite character on the show?
See, I can't. If I pick Steven, that's cheating, and if I pick a gem, it's like picking a favorite family member.
Right.
So I just default to Onion because you cannot go wrong with Onion. He's so weird. We have no idea what he is or why he exists. And bonus, whenever he does his little me's, I get to voice him. So always fun. And he's also like some of the sequences with like an Onion trade where there's the big wall of fire behind him and he's slowly walking forward. Like you can't get that creepy in most cartoons. So I think it's kind of a cool thing. We get to push the boundaries a bit.
If you got to be a voice on any modern cartoon nowadays that's running, what would it be?
Regular show is a big one because before I started working for Cartoon Network, that was a favorite of mine. I think some of the like adult cartoons, I've never worked on any of those, like Archer or Rick and Morty. Those would also be
Rick
a
and Morty
blast.
would
Totally
be
different
awesome.
style, but
Yeah.
very funny and very well written.
So my last question. You have brought so much life to the role, but to me, what Steven Universe is more so than the acting itself. It's also about the songs. Do you feel inspired by the music? How in fact do you contribute to it? Do you have in fact a musical career that you're also developing alongside your acting career?
Yeah, I got out of music for like 5 years. It's what got me into this whole mess, actually. I started singing when I was 7, then musical theater, then film, and then these crazy cartoon things. But I'm getting back into original music now after a long hiatus. After my band broke up years ago, I was like, well, I'll put this on hold for a while, but more to come on that. That's kind of a slow trickle because I'm busy with all this acting stuff, but hopefully trying to get an EP together. That's the current plan.
So can we expect maybe a couple of Steven Universe covers?
I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. I don't know what the policy is on that. If we ever put together like a compilation, I would totally like poke her back and like, hey, can I do this?
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is number 5.
And number 1 and 2. Kids Next Door Battle Stations! Hooray.
All right.